Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Mayfield. Today is Friday, January 7th, 2022, and we are going live on several platforms. So just wanted to first and foremost say welcome to the new year. Thank you for joining. And I've been doing some recording of the podcast, but there's always a certain amount of fun to go live, and that's what we're doing now. So anything could happen, including my phone ringing, which I just realized I forgot to turn off, but that's okay. We'll do that in just a moment. The most important thing for you to remember right now is if you're watching us on YouTube, or perhaps you are not watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel. Just go over to YouTube, search for Global Real Estate School. Be sure and click on the bell. That way you will be notified each and every time that we go live on YouTube. Well, again, my name is John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Thank you so much for joining. And with Global Real Estate School, we have a great year already. The first 7 days, we have a lot of new students. We've had some good pass rates. Something kind of interesting about our December pass rates. Our pass rates have been very good for first-time test takers, and there's a lot of information I'm supposed to tell you when I get into specific numbers. Here's what I want to say. I noticed in December, our first-time test takers who passed, I was like thrilled with our results. Now, it wasn't 100%, which is what I'd love to have, but it was very, very, very good. But the sad part is, the people who overall took the exam, and I noticed this kind of with the state as well, if you don't pass the first time, it seems to be more challenging for those to pass it a second or a third time. Now, that's not to say you cannot do that, because I've had many students who they did not give up. And here's the other great news about that. Some of my best real estate agents were students who did not pass the exam on the first attempt. So don't get discouraged. But I'm telling you that bit of information that I really think sometimes people reset the exam up too quickly, and they're not studying as hard as they should, and they're not really looking at where were my scores a little weak, and what areas do I need to go in and improve a little bit better. So we have lots of videos on YouTube in those specific playlist categories that you can watch. We also have a course called My Real Estate Exam Coach that has lots of video, has lots of audio, reading, and we've broken it down by test categories. So if you're very low in one category, you can just go right into the My Real Estate Exam Coach and study that specific portion, and we'll help you out. So don't get discouraged, but make sure you're ready for that exam before you go take it on your first attempt. You know, some teachers have this philosophy that you finish the course, you need to get in there and take the test as soon as possible. I really think it just depends on you and your studying. For me, I need a few extra days. I want to go over everything, and I'm going to spend a lot of time really studying all the information. For some people, it might be better for you to go right in and take it as quickly as you can. But you have to make that call or that decision. But just remember, it's a challenging test, and you need to know that information because we want you to pass on your first attempt. Well, I'm going to do some live streaming today. If you're not a Global Real Estate School student, I think this will help you for the national portion. If you've already have your real estate license, you know what? This will probably help you in your real estate career as well. I think it's always good to watch. And so I'm going to talk about legal descriptions today. There are a couple of questions on the exam for legal descriptions. And I have my whiteboard all ready to go. So we're going to jump right in and look at, this is what our course looks like. I have the audio turned off right now, and so there is no audio, but we have audio, we have video, we have lots of different elements to the course. And so this is the review section, so it allows me to kind of skip forward. When I'm reviewing, I can jump around anywhere in the course that I want to. I like to try to give students an estimated time for each module. Of course, we like to cover the learning objectives. But we're going to get right into Introduction to Legal Descriptions. A lot of times people might think that the legal description for a mailing address, in fact, I'll just put this up on the board for you right now, but you might think that an address like 1303 West School Street is a legal description. And actually, that's just basically, some people might say it's for the U.S. Postal Service. Others today, it's maybe for 911 for emergency situations. But it's not really the address that we like to use when we identify real estate for transfer. When you sell a parcel of real estate, you normally do not identify it by the street address on a deed. You're going to address it by or make note of it through what is called a legal description. So let's take a look at some of the types of legal descriptions that are out there. And the first legal description I want you to understand is the meets and bounds. Now we'll look at three different types of legal descriptions: the government rectangular survey system, the lot and block, but we really want to take a look at this meets and bounds legal description. Here are some things that you need to know about the meets and bounds legal description. First of all, it's ideal for irregular shaped parcels of properties. Now, what do I mean by irregular shaped parcels of property? What I mean by this is that with a meets and bounds description, I'll put this, minimize this down, and we'll bring this up, is that you're going to have a property description and you're going to have a starting point. Now, we normally like to refer to this as the POB, or the point of beginning. I'm a creative speller. I think I spelt that wrong, and I apologize about that, but a point of beginning, the POB. I always wondered why my instructors in college always abbreviated when they were spelling, but and it used to irritate me so bad. And then when I became an instructor, I thought, okay, now I know why they like to abbreviate, but point of beginning. I have to look that up because it doesn't look right to me. So, but a POB, this is your point of beginning. And I'm going to make this more of a star. That's our point of beginning. Then the legal description will basically go out to another point, maybe to another point, over here to another point, maybe back up, and then it always returns back here to the point of beginning. This is very important for you to understand, because in order for a meets and bounds legal description it always begins at the point of beginning and it always ends at the point of beginning. So you have to have this. It's very important. And I'm going to come over here and put meets and bounds. So again, number one, it's ideal for what? It's ideal for irregular shaped parcels of property, as you can see here. Now, these little areas out here are called, these are the other corners, and they're going to have monuments, and they could be things such as, it's interesting, I've seen some monuments, and a friend of mine who's a surveyor, he actually has some of these big concrete old monuments that St. Joe Mineral used, but they could be rocks, they could be old fence posts, they could be, various objects that would indicate here's a monument, so that we know that's a reference point there. And then this might be, you go 435 feet southeast to this point. And then you drop down 150 feet to this point. And then this is all going to go, and you always come back to the point of beginning. I had a student one time who said, hey, there was a question on the test, John, and they wanted to know what the first point was in a meets and bounds description. And I said, it's the point of beginning. And he goes, no. They were wanting to know what that first spot is past the point of beginning. And he kept telling me, and I kept saying, I don't understand what you're talking about. And he said, they wanted to know what this was right here. And then he read the question back to me, and I said, well, they were probably asking you what is the first place in a meets and bounds description, and it would be the point of beginning. Now, it could have just been a corner, and so monument could have been what they were asking about. I don't know without reading it, but in just the way he told me, I think they were wanting him to answer point of beginning. But you can see here, our second bullet point is that a meets and bounds description will use monuments to identify the corners. And monuments are what we call fixed objects. They're things such as trees, stones, streams. They could be man-made objects like highways. So keep that in mind. Now, look at this. The meets are referred to as distances. See that? So the meets would be the distances. Now, I haven't seen that on the exam, but it's not bad to understand and know that, so keep that in mind. Bounds give reference to direction. So this right here, I'm going to put bounds direction. Okay, so the meets refers to distances, the bounds refer to direction. Now, if the meets and bounds description fails to return to the POB, then the legal description is flawed. So remember, a meets and bounds legal description will always begin and end at the point of beginning. It has to. In other words, it's not, there's a flawed legal description somehow there. So first type of description you need to know, meets and bounds. There's several points that we talked about there. And I think that you'll notice meets and bounds legal descriptions on many deeds as you become a real estate professional and you start looking at some of the deeds at the closing or when you're listing a property, or even when you're working as a buyer's agent and you're wanting to go over the legal description and some of the information, you'll see that it's a meets and bounds legal description. Now, let's go to our second type of legal description. And I actually have an example here for you of a meets and bounds legal description. This is on a property I actually owned at one time, but I sold off part of this. You can see here that a meets and bounds description would be beginning at the northwest corner of Highway 44 and then 300 feet east to an iron rod and so forth and so on. This is, I don't know if I can make that bigger or not because of the module that we're in, but this little area down here where you see all the arrow pointing, that's a meets and bounds. It's describing this type of information. You know, it's going to go out here and down here, back, over, and it's going to come back to the point of beginning. So keep that in mind, meets and bounds legal description. Now, the second type of legal description that we look at or study in the course is called a government rectangular survey system, the government rectangular survey system. And years ago, the government, when they started surveying off real estate and property, they created this type of legal description. And it's kind of a fascinating legal description. And so we're going to go through it right now and take a look at how this works. There are a couple of items that you need to know here. As you can see on this page, the 2 bullet points, and I'll talk about this in a moment. Principal meridian lines run north and south. Baselines run east and west. So I am going to bring this up here, and I'm going to get a different pen here. So we are going to, first of all, remind you that principal meridian lines, principal meridian lines, run which way? North and south. Now here's how I remember this for the exam. And I'm going to hopefully connect the dots here. The P in the alphabet is right next to the N, okay? So principal meridian lines, the P's right up there in the alphabet by the N for north, so they run north and south. Now baselines, they run east and west. And the way I remember baselines is that the B is very close in the alphabet to E. Now you might think, hey John, that seems a little goofy, but I'm telling you what, when you get into the real estate course, and it's just so much information. That's why our digital flashcards are good. When you buy a course through Global Real Estate School, you actually get digital flashcards. So you can download those to your phone, you can study those when you're on the go, but I like to connect things like that. It just makes it so much easier for me. Principal meridian lines, they run north and south. P and N are right there by each other in the alphabet. Baselines run east and west. The B and the E are right there close to each other in the alphabet. So just easy tips that might help you remember those for the examination. So let's go back and take a couple other examples here when we look at the government rectangular system. Again, it was a system developed to identify property the government had acquired. Now, you're going to see that we have these things called townships and sections, and there's information within these that you need to know. I'm going to kind of draw these out for you. And so let's kind of get in and take a look at how townships and sections work. And so we're going to move this on up out of the way. And I'm going to draw a township. So two things a lot of stuff you need to know about a township is, first of all, a township, and let's just kind of do this, if we could, is 6 miles by 6 miles. And within this township, we have what are called sections. And there are 36 sections inside a township. Okay? I've been watching the old Dallas reruns. It was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up as a kid. And, you know, I do a lot of traveling, and a couple of years ago, I travel a lot internationally to do some speaking, and I don't say that to brag, just I've been very blessed. And sometimes when you're on an 8 or a 10 or 12-hour flight, there's always nice for something to pass the time. And I love the Dallas episodes because they're like 48 or 50 minutes and they go by really quick. There's no commercials. And so I watched 2 or 3 of those and I'm like, holy cow, 3 hours of, we burned up 3 hours of the flight. So I started watching some of those old Dallas episodes and kind of got hooked on them and watched it from season 1 all the way through to the end of the season. And so, I don't know, a couple of years have gone by, I haven't watched them, so I started watching them again. And the other day, I was on the episode where Jock gives Ray, if you're a Dallas buff, you would know all of this and remember this. Ray was the foreman of the ranch, and of course he just did work there since he was 15. And eventually in the plot, we find out that Ray is actually Jock's son. And but before that, Jock wanted to do something for Ray, and he said, "Ray, I'm going to give you a section such and such." And so Jock gave Ray a section of land right outside Dallas. Well, let's go back to the board. There are 36 sections in a township. Let's just pretend that, I'll do green here. Section 1 is the section Ray got. Well, we're going to kind of break down into the township now, but what you're going to find out is that there would be 2, and pardon me if my everything's not, equal in size here, but just understand there are 6 sections here. And this is the way the government did their government rectangular survey system. They started in the northeast corner, which would be section 1, and then they kept surveying over until they got to section 6, and then they would drop down and go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then they would drop down, and this would be 13, 14, 15, 16, which is a special section here. I'm gonna just 16's a special section we'll talk about here in just a second. And then we had 17, 18. We go all the way over here, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I'm hoping I'm doing this right. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And of course, I'm going to fix this. Don't panic. So we have 30 here, right? And this was 29. This was 28. My eraser was. And so we're almost done. And so this would be 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Again, 36 sections in a township. Well, if a township's 6 miles by 6 miles, then a section would have to be what? 1 mile by 1 mile. So old Jock gave Ray a mile by mile, or what we also refer to as 640 acres. There are 640 acres in a section. Now, I said 16 was kind of special. The proceeds from the sale of section 16 went to fund the public schools. So that could be an exam question. This could be an exam question. Section 1 starts in the northeast corner. They could say, what section's immediately below section 23? Well, you'd have to draw those out, right? And you would find out that it's 26. You might say, well, John, why did they go over and back and over? Well, they didn't want to really have to pick up all their survey equipment and go back to the other end and start back over. So it just made sense to kind of do the zigzag that we're seeing here. Now, remember, this right here would be a principal meridian line, and it runs north and south. This would be a baseline, and the baseline runs east and west. Remember, so that's how that, and so this would be a principal meridian line. This would be a baseline. See how those are? And these townships would be located next to these. And so a legal description through the government rectangular survey system might be something that refers to as this. Township 36 North, Section 15, Range 5 East. Okay, and so that's how we could go in and determine where is this parcel of property that's being sold in section 15. And so along with this legal description might be a meets and bounds, because you can use more than one legal description when you're surveying off property. So this is a government rectangular survey. Whoops, let me go back to that. The government rectangular survey system, a lot of things that are going on here that you can look at. There are, a township, again, 6 miles by 6 miles. There's 640 acres in a section. There are 36 sections in a township. Section 16, the proceeds were used to fund or pay for the school. And we've got principal meridian lines running north and south, baselines running east and west. So this gives you an example of the government rectangular survey system. Now in the course, I have lots of video, so I have items like this that you can watch. I really don't want your, I'm trying to make sure there we go. I really don't want your experience in my online course to be dull and boring, okay? I don't want you just clicking a mouse and reading and clicking and reading and clicking. We don't do that at Global Real Estate School. I like to live stream like this. I answer my phone when my students call. My students will tell you that. I want you to have a great experience. And if you're a broker or another agent and someone says, where should I go to an online real estate school? I'm telling you what, we're going to give them a different experience at Global Real Estate School. A fun experience and one that you can learn and do good. So hopefully you'll like it and you'll enjoy it. But we have lots of resources. So I have some videos that we go in, and then I do a little video, a question here that reviews from the video. And then we go to lot and block. And this is basically what you see in town a lot. And that is, it might be lot 7, block H, such and such. And so again, you can use more than one legal description to convey a legal description. There's some other terminology you need to know here. And I actually like to get in when I'm talking about the legal descriptions. I like to really get into showing you one other piece of information. So we're going to kind of go over that and we'll wrap up our live streaming today, okay? So let's go back over to the board and let me go back over here and pull up the whiteboard, and we will go all the way up here to right here, and I am going to give you a legal description that might be similar to how many acres are in the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 10, Township 34 North, Range 5 East. How many acres are in the northeast quarter? Now, this may seem a little bit scary to you, but don't let it scare you. Basically, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start, first of all, they want to know how many acres are in, they give you this legal description of section, actually I meant to put of section 10, so let's just say it's section 10, Township 34 North, Range 5 East. So we're looking at a section, and if we come back up, whoops, I did that again. If we try to bring this down, remember how many sections, how many acres are in a section? 640. So if we come back down here to the problem, seems to me if we took 640 and we divided by 4, what would that give us? Well, let me get my calculator here. And let's just do that. So 640 divided by 4 equals 160. So I can cross that out. Of the northeast quarter, so I'm going to divide that by 4. That gives me 40 acres. So we'll cross that out of the southwest quarter. So I'm going to just divide by 4 again, and that gives me the answer of 10. So there are 10 acres in the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 10. And again, we just take 640 acres, that's the number of acres in a section, and we divide by the northeast quarter, which is 4, we get 160. Divide by the northeast quarter, we get 40, and we divide by the southwest quarter, another 4, and we get 10. 10 acres. All right. Hopefully you are good to go with that. When I press the one button, it always takes my monitor down below, so I like to see what's going on as well. So don't forget, there are 3 different types of legal descriptions that we really talk about in the course. There's some other, we talk about some other terminology in there, but meets and bounds always begins and ends at the point of beginning. It's ideal for irregular shaped parcels of real estate. Remember the meets refer to distances, and I think that's right. I want to go back over here and take a quick look here. There's a lot of terminology, so we want to, yes, meets are for distances, and bounds are for direction. So I wanted to just double check there to make sure I was on the right. Monuments could be things like rocks and so forth, but always begins and ends at the point of beginning. We talked about the government rectangular survey system, lots of information there. Principal, meridian lines run north and south, the P and the N in the alphabet, baselines run east and west, B is close to E. We talked about a township is 6 miles by 6 miles. There are 36 sections in a township. And section 1 starts in the northeast corner. They go over to the west in a west direction, and section 6, then you're going to drop down to 7 and go back east. Section 16, proceeds were used for school purposes. You might have to draw some of those out if they ask you a crazy question like, what's the section below 15 or whatever. Just draw out the 36 sections. Start in the northeast corner, move west. When you get to 6, drop down, so you can always do that. And then remember, 640 acres in a section. You know now that Ray, Jock's long-lost son, the ranch foreman on Dallas, Jock gave him a section of land, right? Which is 1 mile by 1 mile, which is another great test question that I've seen. Bob Doe or Bob Smith or whoever buys 1 square mile plus 5 acres and he pays $2,000 an acre. How much did Bob pay for the land? Well, if he bought 1 square mile, he bought 640 acres, right? So just take the 640 acres, add the other amount of acreage they throw in the problem, multiply it times what they paid for it, you get the answer. So don't let a square mile, or you buy 1 square mile plus 5 acres, trip you up or scare you. 1 square mile is 640 acres. They won't ask you how many acres did Jock Ewing leave Ray on the exam, but you know that now. He left him 640 acres, a square mile. So I thought that was kind of funny when they were talking about that on Dallas. Hey, that relates back to the real estate school. So legal descriptions. You're going to do great on the exam. Please be sure and tell your friends about Global Real Estate School. Check us out this entire month, January 2022. All of our students get my online coaching program called 5 Minutes to Jumpstarting Your Real Estate Career. We're actually giving it to anyone, even if you buy post-license, pre-license, or all 12 hours of our continuing education. It is full of videos and information, worksheets for business planning. It has my ads book. You can download a digital copy of the 5 Minutes book, a digital copy of my letters book, plus access to prospecting letters. I have an online marketing component, lots of tech tools, and also tools to help you set goals and have a good vision and just set your real estate career in the positive direction where you can be a successful real estate professional. Because at the end of the day, that's my goal. I want to see you succeed. So we've done a live stream. Hasn't been too bad. A couple of hiccups here and there, but hey, that's the beauty of live streaming online. But more than anything, please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions, need help, and tell others about Global Real Estate School. We want to be your real estate source, your real estate education source to help you grow and prosper as a real estate professional. Thanks again. It's Friday. You're going to make it a great weekend. I am too. Stay healthy and safe, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks again. Be sure and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Give us some high fives or love and share this with others. Have a great day, everyone.